Saga over? I don't think so. Oda still has to give closure to several characters still left on the line. But at least the Straw Hat crew has managed to get by as always, tar and feathers included. We still have Kaku, Lucci, Stasi, Sentomaru, Admiral Kizaru, Saint Saturn, Yoke, perhaps Vegapunk Edison, likely protagonists of the next chapter, with which Oda will close the open plots and then lead us out Egghead. It is time for chaos to break out, for the emperors to take the bull by the horns and finally go after the treasure. As it is also time for Wapol to talk to Morgans and tell him about Imu, or for Kuma to be restored so that Bonnie can get her daddy back, or let the revolution do something. Yes, whatever. Tomorrow. Those don't do anything. But you don't be a revolutionary. In fact, be reactionary. And hit the like button to help this video fly like the 5 elders to the land of the gods. Leave a little comment and get ready for us to begin. This 1123 is a concentrate of man, this stuff didn't make sense. Let's put it all together a little bit here, a little bit there, so at least it justifies that and this. Although, as can be seen with careful reading, there are things that nevertheless remain very, very, very creaky. So let me at least line up the bits and pieces and make sense of it all. There is very little to say, I tell you very honestly. But let's line up the bits and pieces, the dates, the events, so at least we get a sense of what happened during this arc, and then I'll give you a statement just to close this Egghead saga. Then we will have time to talk about it, to reread it, to churn out other things. But let's do this brief timeline. Shall we go? Let's go. 3 months ago, Yoke wakes up badly and contacts the world government. She's sick and tired of pooping for everyone, so she decides it's time for the other Vegapunks to bugger off. She requests an audience with the higher-ups, saying that Vegapunk is researching the Void Century. On the heels of these events, the Mugiwaras find themselves back on the Shabondi Islands after 2 years, and set out again on their journey. In response to the statements of this mysterious informant, the government sends the CP5 to investigate, which arrives on Egghead a month later. We are 2 months from the present, as per the words of the Caged Agents, chapter 10-76, and Lucci, chapter 10-68. Dr. Vegapunk is very helpful, shows the government agents the laboratory and what he is doing in it, and they actually find nothing, so they leave. But Yoke has them attacked by the Sea Beast weapon and imprisons them in the underground lab. A month later, while the crew is on the road and split up to reach Wano Country on one side and Whole Cake Island on the other, CP7 arrives in Egghead to further clarify the situation, as CP5 never returned to Marie Joa. But the result is the same as before. During the Reverie, about a month from the present, we can say with absolute certainty that the government was already holding Mother Flame from Yoke, which sent a Sea Beast weapon, or more than one we do not know, to deliver the infinite energy to the government. The day after the Reverie ends, Imu then expresses a desire to test it. He holds the energy. A big energy capable of powering anything, at least apparently. Saint Saturn sets out to start the procedure and awaken the ancient weapon, Uranus. I remind you that during the Reverie, the very first part of the Wano Saga takes place because the Reverie begins on the same day that Luffy lands on the shores of the Kuri. 2 weeks later, here comes the CP8 in Egghead Island, but it ends up disappearing into thin air, like CP5 and CP7. The crew is still in Wano. Guess they are in the midst of celebrations. Kaido has been defeated. They are toasting, eating, firing barrels into the sky. It is, shall we say, the height of the festive days, and Yoke calls Marie Joa back. The government then decides to send the CP0 forward and to set the navy in motion, with Kizaru and Saint Saturn to implement a siege on Egghead. Meanwhile, as seen in this chapter, Vegapunk Stella, Shaka, and Pythagoras finally find anomalies in the values of the power plant and realize that someone has altered the data and modified the recordings to cover up a theft of the infinite energy Mother Flame. A week later, on Egghead, Pythagoras discovers that the culprit is Yoke, and they understand why the government has been sending Secret Service S all these months to seek information about Vegapunk studying the Void Century. 3 weeks after Nerona Imu's expressed willingness to test the Mother Flame. Then 6 days from the present, the King of the World uses the ancient weapon Uranus to erase the island on which Lulusia's kingdom stands. Once this nefarious event happens, Vegapunk finds out what happened and realizes that the government used the Mother Flame. He realizes that what Yoke did had terrible consequences, but more importantly, he realizes that the government is holding an ancient weapon. From then, he deduces that his death is now imminent, as the world government continue to send secret agents to Egghead Island, and so he begins to prepare the counter-move to warn the world of his findings about the truth of ancient history. 2 days before the present, Vegapunk records the message to the world. So Vegapunk Stella hides the Dendenmushi inside the robot Emmet, and then erases his memory along with Shaka and Pythagoras to prevent Yoke from learning of their counter-moves. However, Vegapunk leaves behind a note saying that the government has found out what he is doing and that he needs to let himself be killed in order to set something cool in motion in the coming days. A day from the present, Luffy and Straw Hat Pirates arrives in Egghead Island, and CP0 also arrives. The events of the saga then begin. Vegapunk Shaka calls Dragon and warns him that he believes he will soon die, passing it off as a super hyper brilliant hunch when in fact he had written and read it on his note the day before. Cursed. Vegapunk number 6 puts his plan into action to take out all the other Vegapunks after he finds out that the government wants her dead along with the others. And finally, we come to the present. An earthquake shakes the entire planet. Yoke manages to win back the government's favor through more Mother Flame. Vegapunk dies and the message goes out. Good. That time excursion having been made, one absolutely important fact comes out of the chapter that totally conflicts with the speech Vegapunk recorded. He knows that it was the government that used the ancient weapon. He knows this because Yoke gave the Mother Flame to the government. He knows this because he expressly wonders what the hell the government is. As the closer he gets to the truth, the darker the matter becomes. Then why does he play the asshole in the message? Why does he say he doesn't know who the villain of the story is? Why do the bad guys look like the pirates at the end? And who has the D? Why didn't he specifically say that the world government blew up Lulusia's kingdom and citizen with an ancient weapon powered by his super powerful energy? Because he is a butt god. He covered his ass in the back. Dot. He says his information may not be completely right, a bit fragmented, but he also says he will tell us all the things he has discovered, not making any assumptions. Well, it is a fact that the government murdered Ohara 22 years ago, and now Lulusia with an ancient weapon. There is no alternative. There is no alternative. He ranted about Joy Boy, said Roger was an ignoramus because he found out everything and never said anything, hiding the truth from the world. Vegapunk knew, though, that the killer this round was the government, knew that it was the government that killed the people of Ohara. And he even knew the real reasons for it, because he studied, he knew what was behind it, he knew that his friend Clover had D, and that in spite of everything he had died in the right to find out the truth. And as if that were not enough, he also tells Sanji that he wants them, the Straw Hats, to find the treasure One Piece, after he says that whoever finds the One Piece will win the war. Excuse me though if you hope that Straw Hat's captain with D in name, that embodies the spirit of Nika, wins the war by getting the treasure. Then for you, the government is the villain. I mean, did you get that, Vegapunk? The world government exterminated an entire population with the ancient weapon. You saw it with your own eyes. Those are the facts. However, he pretended not to know. Said he did not know who was right and who was wrong. Do you understand? Said he did not understand why Joy Boy had saved the weapons by storing them from memory in the poneglyphs. In the meantime, though, the government fired, razed Ohara, razed Lulusia, so much so that Lulusia even disappeared into thin air, sinking into the abyss. He knew, and he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. He didn't say that the government took Lulusia out. I can't talk about good and bad, he said. This was Vegapunk, ladies and gentlemen, the humble genius scientist in the service of humanity. Good thing he is dead. Having said that, I bid you farewell. There was nothing more to say, really. If I think of anything else, I will tell you about it in the coming days. But would be a repetition of things we have already said. It is a chapter that closes the saga. So, more than that, in my opinion, there is very little in this 1123. To show your support, feel free to sign up, put a like, or become a loyal subscriber to my content. See you in the coming days for a new video dedicated to One Piece. Hey, I salute you. Be good and have fun, and don't be like Vegapunk.